Hello and welcome to the podcast. At first, I'm going to do a little disclaimer here. We are amateur podcasters, simply for entertainment. If we misquote or offend, it was not meant on purpose to do so. Thank you and enjoy. Oh, also, we're recording from our dining rooms, so you may hear your kids, dogs, and random animals. Today, we're outside to touch upon our Bigfoot stories. This is Mark and Elle, and
it's a Sunday morning. Feels a little verklempt outside. It's a Yiddish word. It feels like it's almost going to rain. But we're out on Mark's patio enjoying the sounds of nature to amplify in case we actually see a Bigfoot over the fence. And whoever listens to this, again, thank you so much for listening and commenting. And we know that you're just friends and family right now listening to us. So the actual the truth is a little hard to tell people we like how crappy we may sound, but we appreciate the listening.
From Douglas County, we're going to share, and I think we got some
Father's Day.
Dad jokes, are we doing?
Jokes, UFO stuff.
All right, so should we start off with
Jump on in.
All right. The first, I'm doing two Bigfoot stories today. I like them because they're just a couple months apart. That's why I wanted to share them. These were both found on the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization website, and they both take place in 2002. All right, the first one is in August of 2002. The location was Looking Glass, so 5 miles from the Looking Glass store, the foot of the Callahans, and it's actually on Touchstone Lane up to the logging area. Now, what we're going to read here is from the person who reported it. She said, I was walking in the woods behind my house on Looking Glass, near the Callahan Mountains during the late afternoon evening. I was enjoying the late summer weather by taking a walk when suddenly I heard something stir in the brush several yards ahead of me. I walked silently for a few yards, daring not to get too close. More rustling. It was moving away now, and then out of nowhere it appeared in front of me. I don't think I'd ever seen anything bipedal that tall and hairy. So we can talk right there. Yeah, of course, she goes on to say, of course I wasn't right next to it, with the animal being about 20 yards away. I was 12 at the time, but I know what I saw.
Oh, 12.
Yeah, 12 at the time.
Take back the husband joke.
But she's by herself walking, I'm approaching 40 and I won't walk by myself in the forest, but there was a very strong odor that you couldn't put into words. The creature was dark brown, almost black and hairy, like an ape, but bipedal.
So it was a bear.
It was a bear. It was, that's the thing is a lot of people say these are bears, and I just
literally sounds like a bear.
It's the poor thing. She said the face and muscular structure resembled an ape, but its upright appearance looked more like a human.
Huh.
Now I've seen bears with mange, and I could see I don't know,
or a werewolf.
Yeah, it's
the Oregon werewolves.
The Oregon werewolves. I followed the animal's route several days later for about 20 yards after it disappeared, and found a faint footprint. It was enough to make out the characteristics: 5 toes, and I would estimate that it was larger than Shaq's foot by a long shot.
That's what she said.
That's what she said in here. This is her exact quote.
That's how she compared Shaq's foot.
I like just the biggest human she knows.
Right,
yeah. I walked along the fence line for a while and I couldn't see any holes. There were some parts of the fence though that the animal could have just stepped over, being that big. The good news is she reports this stuff, right? And the research organization follows up with more questions. Okay, so here we go. Investigator is Bart Contino, and he follows up. I spoke with a young witness who is now 17 years of age on February 10, 2008.
So 5 years. It took 5 years.
Look, Bigfoot research. It's not a 911 call. Okay, it's whenever Bert's available.
Yeah.
The animal appeared bipedal and human-like, except for being covered in very dark brown hair, almost black hair. She described the subject's head as being average size in relationship to the body and round on a short, almost absent neck. And I want to specify that description because the next thing I'm going to read you is going to match that description almost perfectly. She estimated the animal's height as being close to 8 feet. It stood with a slight slouch, but the arms appeared a little lengthy. So the interaction only lasted 15 to 20 seconds, and it wandered off. She was reluctant to return to the location for several days. After the encounter, the family did report hearing loud noises for the next 3 nights in the woods that they had not heard before. Yeah, so that's the first sighting.
Where did she live?
The Callahan Mountains there, just on the base. Yeah.
What year was that?
This was 2002. It's one of those ones. So one of the things I read on a lot of these cases here is people are reluctant to report it.
Yeah.
Okay. But they know what they saw. They're very adamant about what they saw.
Right. Well, if you see something 8 feet or whatever, hunched over, hairy with no neck.
So what would you do if you saw something like that?
Well, everyone's got cell phones now. I would think that I would try to get, because you always see the Bigfoot videos. They're always grainy. They're never, they're always like wishy-washy. That would have been my first. Either run or pull out my cell phone. It's either flee or stand there and try to catch. I guess it depends on how aggressive or like how close it is.
That's true.
If it's like 5 feet away, see if it wants any jerky or something.
Yeah, see what you can friend it. Yeah,
right. I instantly think about like Harry and the Hendersons. The Bigfoot was mean and scary at first, but then maybe just wants like a sandwich or something.
It's gotta be hungry.
Right.
I mean, it can't be.
And if it's the missing link, how do we know it doesn't actually like communicate or like have any sort of like form of like words?
Exactly.
Like,
some of those, I've seen documentaries where, of course they do the knocking.
Yeah, that's what I think about too. I mean, I would hate to be killed by a Bigfoot, but at the same time, I'd be like, who would say I get attacked? No one would believe you too. If you like ran into town, you're like, I just got attacked by a Bigfoot. They're like, okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Sure. No one's gonna believe you.
Right.
In Canada, I know that if you report a Bigfoot sighting, they lock you up. You're loony at that point.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Sasquatch. Well, Canadians too.
Yeah.
I imagine they'd be more friendly than
you would think. No, they just don't put up with it. If you're crazy, they're locking you up.
Yeah. Like if I could capture like a good photo or video, like if you actually had like a real good, you would probably.
You'd have to get a good camera. Right. You'd have to not be shaky. Not have to zoom in. Right. That's the thing. I think a lot of these things, cameras are zoomed in because Bigfoot's literally running away from people.
Yeah.
And so everyone's zoomed in is shaky, or you can't make it out. My luck, I had to unlock my phone. Okay, get out of my pocket. I'm like an old man, fumble around. Remember my code, my 4-digit code to unlock it. Right. But then Bigfoot's 50 yards away.
Well, your fingerprint would be like so sweaty you can't unlock it. You're like trying to, your phone's telling you over and over again, your phone is not locked. You need to try to like enter your code in, and then by then Bigfoot's like, see ya.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's not gonna pose for a selfie. He's not gonna be cool like that.
Right.
Let's go to the second report. Okay, this is from 2002 as well. Okay, this is in October, so 2 months later. The location of this one is actually towards Glide. Okay. So we got a family community. Yeah, this one had just crossed the highway and was standing on the south side of Highway 138 East, 15 miles east of Roseburg, so 4 miles west of Glide, Oregon. And this is what the person reported. Okay. I was driving home from work. It was about midnight. Okay, this was in 2002. It was about midnight. I was driving on Highway 138 headed east about 15 miles out of Roseburg, Oregon. As I rounded a curve in the road, I saw what I thought was a deer way up ahead crossing the road. I slowed down a bit so I could make sure the deer can get across. But what I saw was a figure standing just off the road by a fence with one hand on the fence post, and it turned up as it went by watching me. I thought it was a man, so I stopped to see if he needed help. I got out of my truck with my flashlight in hand and started walking back towards the man. I was working the light beam along the fence line when I heard the most god-awful sound I'd ever heard in my life. I was in the military and worked as a psychiatric nurse, and I don't scare easily, but that scream scared the crap out of me. It sounded like a dying calf in a hailstorm. It was ranging in tone, starting out high-pitched, then ending in a threatening, low-pitched, guttural sound.
Well, I'm convinced.
As soon as you
heard how do you explain that?
How do you explain that? As soon as someone says they're like the military and this guy that's dealing with the psychiatric stuff, like, okay, your credentials are fine with me now.
And a howling cat sound? I don't know what giant animal is going to make that noise.
Oh, yeah. So the guy goes, I dropped my flashlight and ran back to my truck and spun the tires getting out of there. The next day on my way to work, I stopped at the same spot. My flashlight was still there. I didn't notice any footprints, but did see the tall grass had been walked through on the other side of the fence.
Oh my gosh.
I looked on all the fence posts in the area where I saw it, but did not find any evidence of hair. As to what it looked like, I only got a brief look as I went by, but it had to be at least 7 to 8 feet tall.
So Shaq again.
It's Shaq. It's this guy he's summer vacations in Douglas County and wanders around at weird hours.
He knows he's going to be a Bigfoot sighting.
Yeah.
So he's just trying to feed into people's conspiracy.
He shows it. He goes, look at this. This was me again.
That would be so smart. If I was like 7'6", I would totally go out and get like the most fur coat or like whatever disguise I can get, and just completely hide out and just pretend I'm Bigfoot on the sides of the highway.
What scares me about that is how gun happy everyone is around here. I'd be shot because I can't run that fast.
Yeah, that's a great point. But if you can scare people with some sort of like loud noise, and maybe they'd be a little more frightened. But
that's true.
Yeah.
I think I'd be the embarrassing Bigfoot because if I did wear a suit, like I'd be like a stubby guy running across. They could get great video of me, you know.
Right.
Like here, this
just fall over, trying to get your phone out of your pocket again.
Exactly. Yeah. The height was based on the fact that he was driving a Dodge Ram truck, and when I'm sitting in the driver's seat, my head is 6 feet off the ground. The spot where this thing stood is in a depression in the ground, and when I park my truck in the spot and stand where it stood, I can see it into the cab was staring directly at him. So when he's driving by, this thing's in a ditch, making eye contact level with him. I couldn't make out features as it was dark, but the lights of my pickup slightly illuminated an area where it stood as I went by. As I said, I thought it was a man at first who needed help. It looked so human at the moment. It wasn't until later that I came to believe it couldn't have been a man. No man could have made that sound. And what I remember seeing was a figure standing next to the fence. Its head followed me as I went by. It didn't appear to have shoulders. It looked like the head just spread out until it became shoulders. It appeared to have long hair all over. And at first I thought it was a long jacket like a duster. But as I looked back, it had to be fur. It was a scream that stands out in my mind. It was like a warning, don't come closer. At least that's what the message I got. So I liked that this matches the description the girl had. Okay, same height and the same thing with the neck. He didn't mention the odor, but I don't think he had enough time to maybe pick up on that, you know?
Or maybe he showered.
Yeah, maybe. That's what it was. The Bigfoot had just taken a shower this night, you know? He has to go out like 2 a.m. not to be noticed.
Umpqua River and got himself freshed up before going into town.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, those are the 2 Bigfoot stories I want to bring at this time because I like how they connected. They were 2 months apart. Descriptions are almost identical.
Man, you would think with all the hunting, logging, and forestry, there would be a handful of them running around. You would think there would be so much more activity and sightings.
It's very interesting.
You know what I mean?
I think that the Bigfoots, I think they can smell us pretty good, so they know to kind of hide and stay away from us.
Right, but where the hell would they? I mean, you're 7'6" or 8 feet.
Oh, you can hide.
They're climbing a tree.
They're climbing trees or hiding behind stuff. They got to know the good secret hiding spots.
Right, or just so far deep in the woods where nobody's going to be going.
I'm so funny with Bigfoot stuff because you're right. I get the things right. It's obviously some people are seeing stuff that is their minds tell them what they're seeing, right?
Right.
And it's probably something more logical. But then the other times, the more I look into it, the more I find out interesting facts. Like I know that at one point, when they were starting doing the Park Service in around the 1900s, Bigfoot was in the Parks Guide stuff that you could see. Hey, here's animals you could see in a park. You could possibly see a Bigfoot. And they had to take it out because it could be considered an endangered species, and then you can't log. So if the government acknowledges the existence of Bigfoot, therefore it's an endangered species because of how limited, and therefore you can't go logging. So I thought that was an interesting. Yeah, to hear from it from the money side is interesting. The other complaint says, well, how come I can't find bodies? Like, obviously these things are living, then they got to be dying, right?
That's true.
But then it's the same thing. You don't find that many. The only time you're going to see a dead deer is when it's hit by a car and left on the side of the road. A lot of these things decompose pretty fast.
Right. Or they go off somewhere and die.
Yeah.
Nobody can find them.
And there's even rumors that some people say they can even be burying their own bodies if they're family Bigfoots, and they've noticed humans do. So.
Yeah, the notion of Bigfoot has been debated for so long.
So long.
Even in other countries.
Yeah.
The one in like Nepal, like that lives like in the mountains.
The Yeti?
The Yeti, yes, thank you. The Yeti, Bigfoot, and the abominable snowman is what I was trying to think of. Like, it's interesting that United States is such a small sample size when it's all over the world, and other people in other countries have, debated and sat around like this talking about if they've seen Bigfoot or not.
Older histories have it as a matter of fact thing.
Right. It was just normal for them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there's a Bigfoot. There's Roger. My corn again.
Oh, I love a good Bigfoot story. I love a good Bigfoot video. The only direct experience I had was my wife had a coworker whose uncle had a ranch out towards 10 Mile Callahan's again. Okay, outside his house one day, not that far in the field, and took a picture of the imprint. Okay. but he didn't want it. Like, he took a picture of it, shared it with his wife. She thought it was cool and shared it with other people, but he didn't want it out there. Because he obviously didn't want to be, a loony and that kind of stuff. So it's hard because you're right. The only proof you have is a footprint in the mud, which can be faked. It's proven those can be faked. So this guy, did he not want that out there because he faked it, he didn't want attention, and then have to, apologize later? Or does he not want to be considered a quack or,
Right.
It's very interesting.
It's too, like, because of Bigfoot's been talked about so long. If you see something out there in the woods, it's like, I think your mind automatically goes to, it's either a Bigfoot or another creature or a bear. It's like the history and like the lore of Bigfoot, I think, has grown more than the actual sightings,
Yes, very much so.
So I haven't had any experience. A, I don't like camping. B, I've never had any sort of.
I think we're the only two people in Douglas County who don't like camping. This podcast.
I'm sure there's the no camping podcast.
Yeah, the no camping podcast. No, thank you. That's so funny. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, no, I don't mind like the woods and hiking and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, you asked, what would I do if I saw a Bigfoot? I don't know what I would do. I don't know. Because then, like, same thing with UFOs. What would you do if you saw a UFO? I mean, honestly, like, if you were like walking somewhere and there was like a UFO like overhead, and it's a UFO and not a plane, I don't know. It becomes a personal experience. That's the thing. I mean, I feel bad for a lot of these people who are Bigfoot or UFO researchers, right? And they do have an experience because they're trying to, but then people don't believe them and says, well, you probably just made it up or you saw what you wanted to see, and that's the hard part. All right. Nobody really believes you. Yeah. So is there a Bigfoot like hotline? Like,
this website, which I don't think, the sad part is, the last report on this thing was in 2006. So no one's been on this thing for about 15 years.
So
I don't know if it's
nobody actively like searches the Bigfoot.
This is the Oregon one. I don't know if there's a different one out there.
Yeah.
But this one here, I haven't seen any new reports, and that could very well be that, once again, population growth, that kind of stuff. There hasn't been any Bigfoot sightings.
All right. Yeah, like you said, maybe nobody really wants to be the crazy person out there.
Nobody wants to admit it.
Bigfoot. But with the advancement of like cell phones and stuff, cell phones are like,
you think could capture more?
Yeah, cameras now.
Yeah.
I can zoom in on my cell phone and get a good picture.
Yeah.
So
mine's still a little shaky, but that's okay.
Right. And still, would anyone really believe you if you took a photo, like a good, clear, like an HD photo of it? Would anybody really believe you?
Yeah, that's a hard. And then technology is getting so good too. You almost can't trust videos online anymore because they're deep fake stuff and people can edit so well. And,
right.
Because you can come back and say, hey, here's my video of a Bigfoot. And someone's going to say, yeah, you had the software to make it look like that. You know, it's like,
right.
unless Bigfoot walks out live on TV somewhere, right. And then introduces himself and says, hey,
I'm tired of hiding.
Tired of hiding. I'm coming out. You have some UFO stuff?
I do have some UFO stuff.
Oh, boy. And is this in Oregon?
Yes, this is in Oregon. So this is, as of 2018, a study done by 24/7 Wall Street site. It has ranked Oregon second in the United States for most reported UFO sightings per 100,000 people from 2001 to 2015. Oregon's northwest neighbor, Washington, is ranked third.
Oh, I guess it's first.
Vermont is ranked first. So Vermont, because Vermont's a higher eastern seaboard state, so maybe it's like the flying over the Pacific and the Atlantic. It's like the higher. I don't know. I was trying to wrap. You would think Alaska.
Yeah.
I would think, right? So Oregonians filed 110 counts to the National UFO Recording Center in 2019. And the state consistently ranks in the top 10 for sightings in the country, suggesting there's more than just pranksters behind this unique underground culture. Skeptics are quick to point to the top secret armed forces maneuvers or weather balloons. Weather balloons are such a
good cop out. I've never seen a weather balloon.
Right. And weather balloons, it's like after like Roswell, even back in like the 1950s, you're like, it was a weather balloon. And they're like, oh.
Yeah, right.
Even they were skeptic back then.
Yeah.
Even like the notion of the UFOs weren't really like popularized yet because there wasn't like comics or anything like that about it. Even like back then, they're like, don't know if we believe you, Mr. Government, you know? While UFO enthusiasts stand by their cases as proof of cosmic communications or sinister experimentation. So then I just have some stories like Mark had for his Bigfoot.
I got 2 questions on this.
Fire away.
We know that Washington and Oregon are both 2 of the highest states, right? Now, and we throw this out there, is Vermont. It's also where pot's legal as well. Because I could see a little trend here. That, or, it's reporting how many cases are reported. What if it's all like one guy? There's some guy in a cabin, like out near Bend, and he calls in every night. He goes, I'm seeing the UFOs again, and it's probably just airplanes.
Guy Clayton out in his neighborhood somewhere.
He doesn't know what an airplane is, and he's thinking, yep, that thing's unidentified.
So this one was, these go back a bit. So I feel like the older generation are not going to lie as much about the UFO sightings.
They have no reason to.
You know what I mean? This is from 1949, May 24th, 1949, in Gold Beach.
So 2 years after the Roswell crash.
5 anglers were fishing near the mouth of the Rogue River on Oregon's southern coast, where they witnessed a shiny plate-shaped object in the air. Both unaided and with binoculars, 2 of the group worked in aeronautics and estimated it was a mile and soaring at 5,000 feet.
So when you have more than one witness, this is where credibility goes into.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And anglers, fisher guys aren't guys that are like, okay, hey, let's go out looking for UFOs, but fish while we're at it, you know?
Both unaided and with binoculars.
That's,
it was so close to them that they were able to tell it wasn't something that they were used to seeing. And in 1949, airplane travel really wasn't.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
Wasn't huge yet, right?
You're not going to be that far. You're not getting those stealth jets yet. You're not getting a lot of the more.
And it was a mile away and soaring at 5,000 feet.
That's wild. You're right.
I don't know what that could, you know what I mean? And so 1947, so a couple years before that, near Pendleton, Oregon, private pilot Kenneth Arnold was flying past Mount Rainier when he noticed a string of 9 UFOs moving in a diagonal pattern in the rural skies. Now, the military stuff, I always tend to believe them more than the crazy person on the side of the road. So using onboard instruments and his own acumen, he pegged their speed to at least 1,200 miles per hour. The next day, when he landed in eastern Oregon town of Pendleton for an air show, he shared his tale with the local newspaper, using the term flying saucer, which exploded onto national headlines and marked the beginning of the modern UFO era.
So, flying saucer originated in Oregon.
1947, using the term flying saucer, which exploded onto national headlines and marked the beginning of the modern UFO era.
So I see that was June 24th, so that is actually like 3 weeks before the Roswell crash.
1947.
That's wild.
Isn't that nuts? My daughter's birthday. That makes sense. She's an alien.
Look at that. See, it's all connected. I've read a lot of UFO stuff. I've read, both sides of it, like people what they've claimed to see, and then the skeptic side of it.
Right.
And so I love the older reports because you just tend to believe it more than someone today.
Right. And some pilots, he has no reason to lie.
Yeah.
No reason to lie. And he doesn't say, everyone that says like UFOs, unidentified flying objects, they never say it's aliens from another planet. Exactly. Even like nowadays with like the government and NASA, they confirm that yes, there are flying objects that we don't know what they are.
Yes.
But they're like, we're not going to say these are aliens from another planet. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to, yes, these are little green aliens, but we're not going to tell you this.
I like the theory that the aliens are just visiting us like they're on vacation.
Yeah.
Or like an ant farm to them. They're just like flying by and like there's no way they're going to be able to communicate us in a logical way from how they communicate. So they're just like, it's a thing to do when you're an alien, go fly by Earth and just see what the humans are doing.
Just for a just test drive. Maybe it's like an alien permit license program.
There you go.
You got to get your license or your permit. You have to be able to fly into Earth's atmosphere.
There you go. And the one that crashed in Roswell failed the driving.
That's right. The ones that crashed, they failed their permanent license test.
It's a test to like take up a cattle and then put it back somewhere or do a prop circle, like part of the driver's test.
Right. And it's crazy because the amount of different types of alien spacecrafts that get reported, there's such a variety of it. But So this one's from 1959, September 24th. This is in Redmond. In the high desert of central Oregon, early rising residents of Redmond were surprised when a radiant mass drifted into the airspace outside the town, shooting tongues of multicolored flame. The space race against the Soviet Union was still underway, as was Cold War paranoia. The incident received an aggressive military response. 6 F-102 jets were scrambled to intercept the intruder. According to an FAA report filed by the administrator at the Redmond Airport, radar tracking showed the aircraft jumping extreme distances and elevations almost instantaneously. The final reading registered 52,000 feet, much higher than a passenger plane cruising altitude.
So
again, 1959.
And they scrambled military jets.
Right.
To me, that's such a strong answer.
Shooting tongues of multicolored flames? Like, was it real tongues, though?
Look, I got questions on that, yeah.
Shooting tongues? Was anyone shooting a tongue? It's a weird description.
It is a weird description. But the thing is that they scrambled their military jets. It's obviously a perceived threat. Because they just won't straddle the jets just like they're going to go drive through, get donuts somewhere. This has to be certain levels to get the authorization.
Then what? They must have just scared it off. If you're an alien, though, there's got to be the alien race that just says, F it, I'm just going to start shooting at these.
See what they do.
Because their technology, for them to be able to get to United States, get to Earth, has to be so much better than anything we have. So you got to think their weapons. So at what point are they going to say, we're done with flybys, we're done with just... They probably have Google pulled up on their alien spaceships, and they're just following all the UFOs conspiracies.
Yes.
So they're just knowing they know what they're doing. They know how they're messing with people, and then eventually they're just going to say, now it is our planet.
They're having a good time with it.
One more. In Hubbard, Oregon, farms often create corn mazes and artistic designs that are visible from the air. But in the summer of 1998, this is July 23rd, 1998, when a passing plane spotted intricate shapes in a wheat field near Hubbard in Oregon's rural Willamette Valley. Nobody could come up with any obvious human explanations. Well, why could you?
Yeah.
And what became one of the most intensely scrutinized crop circles in the United States. No initial entry paths led to the approximately 250 by 170 foot composition. Upon closer inspection, several people claimed to feel ill due to residual electromagnetic energy.
Crazy. Almost like a radiation type thing, yeah.
Dude, that is crazy.
That's crazy.
Local anecdotes surfaced claiming the plot had hosted these strange formations since as early as the 1920s, and more were discovered there in subsequent years. That one's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Upon closer inspection, several people claimed to feel ill due to residual electromagnetic energy. And that's a mouthful. Residual electromagnetic energy. I don't know how you explain that.
GoPro camera attached to a tree and capture the UFO, fly over, make it. But then 98, 23 years ago,
I mean, there's still probably people on Hubbard that still probably talk about, that one fateful day in July 23rd. One of the most famous thing that sticks in my mind of all the alien stories is in the 1970s, there was a crop circle composition of an alien face.
Okay.
The program, or I think it was in England, the space program in England, prior to that, they sent out, and through their satellites and their telescopes or whatever, they sent out the DNA of man or human being.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard about this story? They sent out the DNA sequence out to outer space, and then they don't get anything for 30 years or something like that, but they finally received something back, but the DNA sequence was altered by one gene, altered to show an alien face.
That's cool.
It was all weirdly connected between the data sequence being altered and the farmer's crop circle with the alien face.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff. I love there's a report too that they called it the WOW sequence that SETI recorded once. It's a search for extraterrestrial life, but it's basically big satellites. Basically you're listening to the skies. But there, sure enough, was one where they got like I would say it was like a 17-second or something like that message that we still can't decode.
Right.
But the best part, they call it the wow thing, because the guy who was in charge, he recorded like at midnight. He wrote wow next to it because it was the first time, they had this little blip of something coming back towards Earth.
Right.
But then since then, you're right, there's been other reports of stuff like, our technology is getting stronger.
Right.
And so we might be able to communicate on a global scale soon.
I mean, the fact that they got a DNA, something transmitted back to Earth.
Wow.
No idea. That's crazy. And the fact that that's not like number one news story of like the day is so crazy to me.
Isn't that weird?
The fact that it's not covered more.
Yeah. And it's funny to me because everything with the UFO stuff I've read, it's two reasons that aliens haven't like literally, landed on the White House lawn. Was the theories are number one is we're not respectful to ourselves yet. Like, we're killing our planet with pollution. Half the world starves while the other half overeats. Right. So like they're like, until you guys work it out on your own, we're not going to show up. And then they're not going to show up and tell us this.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you guys need to like recycle, not use fossil fuels, because like we have to discover it on our own. And I think that's a scary part of it too, because that means that aliens don't want to talk to us because we're not on their level yet.
Right. Well, you see like all those hieroglyphics or like paintings of like it's like in Egypt or just the old ancient civilizations, where they literally draw themselves, but then they draw like aliens, and then something come from outer space. So maybe like the aliens back, million, thousand years ago or whatever, were noticing the population is like 15. They were, more comfortable, like, oh, we'll help this civilization that only knows how to plant and hunt and gather to the iPhone.
So that's a very good point. Maybe it's just how time passes for them too. Like, they think they were just here 15 minutes ago.
Right.
And they come back, like, hey, where'd all the Egyptians go? Where'd all the mummies?
Right. Yeah. We went to go get lunch.
Yeah. Come back and like, what'd you guys do to the planet?
Oh my God.
This isn't the tools we gave you. Yeah.
And it's also just one of those things that we'll never know.
I love it.
I think the closest they'll ever say anything is the UFOs. We've documented UFOs. We've captured them. They'll have like the pilots that say, they flew next to them and all like the aerial footage. But I don't think they'll ever come out and say these are actually visitors from outer space. You know?
It throws off so much stuff. Like if there's, questions parts of the Bible, there'll be the issues there too. And then I also like the idea of like, if we should be using alternate energy over fossil fuels and that kind of stuff, some of the biggest companies in the world are, oil companies. They're like, no, we don't need aliens telling us how to, drive our cars,
Not to go off a little off topic, but if aliens did land tomorrow, it does beg the question is, where does God fall into that line?
Crazy subject.
Do you know what I mean?
I completely understand, yeah.
Because God created the universe. Does that mean God also created alien life too?
That's right.
I guess.
There's so many
but you know what I mean? But also, you have all of the, the religious type, the ultra religious, I think their heads would explode.
Oh yeah. It's because I never want to say anything that's going to hurt and offend anybody, but you're right. If aliens land, things are going to change.
All right.
I would love an alien to land and they're like, well, what's money? What do you guys need money for? Why can't you just, why can't everyone be equal and that kind of thing? And so they're like, banks crumble. Like, that's my job. It goes away. I'm like, hey, you guys.
When you think about an alien, what first pops into your brain? Like,
it's funny you say that because my first conditioned thought is, the little gray alien thing. Close Encounters of the Third Kind messed me up as a kid. Communion, that kind of stuff. All those the classic image of it. I've read so many books and so many, ancient aliens. You name it, that kind of. So that's the first thing that comes in. But I love the fact that those things don't necessarily talk per se, but they'll communicate telepathically. Because I've read a lot of those stories. Like, they don't see the aliens' lips move, things like that. They communicate through through their brain and stuff. So I don't know. I don't think they mean harm either. That's, I think, the other takeaway from it is, if they meant harm, I think our planet wouldn't exist by now. Like, we would have been, So I think they just come to observe. They come to like see where you're at in your progress
that we're not able to see, and they're able to just like bypass, parts of space to get to like other universes. What I mean? Maybe there's like some sort of like portal what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
I mean, not to sound completely sci-fi-ish, but I mean, I guess what we're talking about is.
But they got to be able to travel that way.
Right.
I mean, that's the whole point of
Right.
Skinwalker Ranch. Is there's this TV show on History Channel about Skinwalker Ranch, which has 100 years of crazy stories of portals. There's portals and people seeing things come out of
Right.
portals open up, and it's almost like they're on a different wavelength because like they can't communicate with us exactly.
Right.
And people see crazy stuff.
Right.
It's a very fascinating subject.
Right. And one that we can debate until our faces are blue.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people. That's funny. Some people. They don't want to talk about the existence of other life or existence of aliens because it scares them to think that there could be something else out there.
That's exactly it.
But,
people fear what they don't understand.
Right.
I think that's what that is actually a quote I got from the next one comic.
Yeah. Professor X.
Yep. So can I ask this? Have you ever had a personal UFO experience?
No, not seeing it myself and not really experienced that firsthand. It makes it more like easier to debate and talk about because I only picture what I have seen, photos, movies in my head, so I can come to like different conclusions and just fantasize about, what it actually would be like. But I think if it actually happened to me, I think it would take away the fun factor. You know what I mean?
That
Like
makes sense, yeah.
It wouldn't be as fun to talk or think about,
So this is gonna sound funny. So my wife and I actually sat right out in this backyard here in the lawn chairs one night. Nice clear night, right? And we're doing this thing called the CE5 thing where you listen to like certain harmonious, tones and that kind of stuff, and you like, relax and calm and just kind of stare out there, see what you can see. And totally not expecting to see anything, okay? And everything I based my experience on was what people recorded or has been reported. So I'm sitting on this lawn chair, 15 minutes into it, looking through binoculars, and I kid you not, here's what I see though. Of course, this is the experience I'm going to have, personal experience, not recorded, but I always have it burned in my memory. And what it looked like, I see this thing floating is way, way out there. I mean, this thing, I knew it wasn't a satellite because of how it was moving. That's the funny part. It looked like a car that was breaking down and kept going. Like it would fly for a little bit and stop, and then fly for a little bit and stop. So of course I see the one crappy UFO out there that just like the guy's like learning how to drive a stick, Yeah, it's like that's what it looked like. It looked like a bad taxi driver because it just like, and I watched it for like 10 seconds max, and then it just disappeared. Okay. I knew it was so far away. Like I'm like, oh my god, I haven't seen a bug fly like that. I haven't seen a satellite like that. I'm not gonna see. I'm sitting there, and all my brain was like trying to like eliminate the things And so it was it definitely was unidentified flying object. Okay, I wouldn't feel threatened or anything, but it was a unique experience. But I love the fact that I get the comical one. I get the one that's like, the guy that they like just learning to drive. Like, hold on, it's in reverse. Yeah, he ran out of gas. He's putting along.
So you're just sitting out here?
You're right over there. It was really bizarre. We only sat out here for half an hour. She saw something too that was really unique. I didn't see what she saw, but she was looking a little bit different angle. And because when you see it, it's hard to get someone's attention to see what you're seeing, then it's gone. The funniest part of the whole night for me was the old raccoon that, there's a raccoon that's been like probably here for a long time, and he's never used to people out here at midnight in lawn chairs. So he gets down off the fence, and I turn around, shine the flashlight over to him, and he just dead pauses. Goes, "Oh, I didn't know you're here. Sorry." He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm just here for the cat food. I didn't mean to cause you any trouble. I'll go back." Like that part was funny to me, but that's so I had that one unique experience, and it's so bizarre.
Did you guys put your mind into a different place to experience?
Yeah, so with UFO camps, like you're talking about Redmond, Oregon, and that kind of stuff. Eastern Oregon's got a couple places that you can go and spend like a week at, where they have high experiences. But you can't go unless you have to you have to eat clean for like a week. You can't have any meat in your system. Because the way your body is, the energy you put off. If you have dead animal in you or certain chemicals in you, it blocks your being able to communicate with these things because of the wavelength. So
that's interesting.
It's very interesting. I listened to a story, a guy talking about how he had to do this special diet and these exercises and meditation for 2 weeks before he went out there. And the guy asked him, and he goes, "Well, did you see anything?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I saw stuff, but it was personal to me, and I can't describe what I saw." And it's like, how wild is that? I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat.
I would do it. If it's something like that where it's in the sky, I mean, if you're vessels out there, I definitely would do it. As long as I don't see like a retractor beam or something coming at me.
Should we go to the dad jokes now? What do you think?
Sure.
Let's do this.
Happy Father's Day.
Yes, happy Father's Day.
Coming up next week.
I only have 2 dad jokes I recently found. I'll let you start. I think you got a couple more than me. Very cool.
Thank you, Mark. Dad cards. Nearly 97 million Father's Day cards were given last year in the United States, making Father's Day the fourth largest card sending occasion. Sons and daughters send 50% of Father's Day cards to their dads. And nearly 20% of Father's Day cards are purchased by wives for their husbands. I think that's super interesting. Like 20% of Father's Day are purchased by wives for their husbands.
That's
it's kind of sweet,
makes them
right?
Appreciated, yeah.
Right. And I like how there's like still 30% out there about who else is also purchasing Father's Day cards. You got your sons and daughters are 50%, and then 20 are the wives and husbands. So, all right. So some dad jokes.
Yes.
I'm afraid for the calendar, its days are numbered.
That's good. I like that.
My wife said I should go do lunges to stay in shape. That would be a big step forward. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing?
Just to get a hole in one.
Thank you. In case they get a hole in one. Singing in the shower is fun until you get soap in your mouth. Then it's a soap opera.
Wow, I appreciate that. That's good.
What do a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common?
I have no idea.
They're both parasites.
Solid. Through all day.
What do you call a fish wearing a bow tie? Sophisticated.
Wow.
You
have to. I think I can say that one. Good.
Sophisticated. How do you follow Will Smith in the snow?
Oh, the Fresh Prince.
You follow the Fresh Prince. If April showers bring Mayflowers, what do Mayflowers bring? Pilgrims.
That's what I thought, yeah.
I didn't get that at first until I read it. What do Mayflowers bring? Pilgrims. I thought the dryer was shrinking my clothes. Turns out it was the refrigerator all along.
Yep, that's true. It's pretty good.
What do you call a factory that makes okay products? A satisfactory.
That's solid. I love that one.
Okay. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet?
Supplies.
Have you heard about the chocolate record player?
No.
It sounds pretty sweet.
That's good.
What did the ocean say to the beach?
The duck that just waved.
Yes. Why do seagulls fly over the ocean?
Is it because if they flew over the bay, they'd be bagels?
Yes, because if they flew over the bay, we call them bagels. I only know 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why. Excuse me. How does the moon cut its own hair? Eclipse it.
Yeah. That's right.
What did one wall say to the other? I'll meet you at the corner.
That's fair.
I only got 2 more.
Okay.
This is not getting any better. What did the 0 say to the 8? That belt looks good on you.
That's good.
That's a little too deep for a dad joke.
Yeah, I had to like visualize that.
And one more of these wonderful jokes. A skeleton walks into the bar and says, "Hey bartender, I'll have 1 beer and a mop."
Wow.
Man.
That's pretty.
The sophisticated. That's my favorite one. Should have highlighted it.
I got one that said, "Cow farts come from the derriere." And then they're walking to a bar.
Yes.
Bono and Edge walk into a bar, and the bartender says, "Not you two again."
Oh no. Okay, we both ended on
that was
bad.
Bump. Yeah, that's wow. This is episode 2. I think we did it.
We'll put out another one when we can, and I hope everyone enjoyed listening to us bumble around.
Thank you
so much.